everything is going to hell down here in Texas.
Oh yeah, what's up everybody? This is your boy, Big Bad Bob, Mr. Rob Clark, along with you, host of the Lim Gummin Podcast. That's where you're at. That's what you're listening to. This is episode 221, and this is going to be some shocking revelations, apparently. No, surely I jest. But that is the title of the show, folks. And hopefully that's what we'll be bringing you today. Now, I happened to come across some very interesting correspondence from 1994 between Marina Oswald, Harrison Livingstone, and the publishing house, Carroll and Graf, who had published, of course, Livingstone's High Treason and High Treason 2. And apparently, in the early 90s, Marina expressed an interest in wanting to write her own book. Now, of course, we all know of the book Marina and Lee, supposedly written by Marina and who was that woman? Oh, man. I don't know. Her name escapes me. CIA asset, I'm sure. It won't take long to look this up. Just stay with me. Priscilla Johnson McMillan. Yes, that's it. But apparently, after reading Oswald's Tale by Norman Mailer, Marina was highly upset by that book and wanted to set the record straight about a lot of things. She was not happy with her treatment of by the media in the early 90s. After the movie JFK came out. And, of course, she had many researchers reaching out to her and trying to talk to her about various things, since the beginning. And one of those is Harrison Livingstone. And I guess she expressed an interest in writing a book. And, of course, he told her that he would be more than happy to help her, which is a noble and an understandable thing. I mean, to land the real story of Marina Oswald would be amazing. So, that is what he tried to do. Now, I have some correspondence here, and we'll go through it. And I'm hoping that I have it in somewhat of the right chronological order, but we'll see. Like I said, a lot of this is very one-sided. So for those of you not familiar with Harrison Livingstone, He is, of course, the author of High Treason and High Treason 2, written with Robert Groden, um, in which I think High Treason was more of an overall JFK assassination book, and High Treason 2 focused more on the medical evidence of things. Um, he had a bit of a reputation as well in the research community for not being very ethical, not being very honest, um, being kind of a dick, basically. Um, and it's understandable. I mean, hey, there's lots of dicks going around in the Kennedy assassination research world. No big shocker there. And of course, he had good motives. He wanted to be the guy to solve the case. He wanted to be the guy to tie up all the loose ends. He wanted to be the guy who wrote the definitive book on the assassination. And those are noble goals, noble efforts, of course. And, looking back over the years at all these guys that poured I mean, this was a guy who lived and breathed every second of his existence into this assassination. I mean, this thing can suck you in and bleed you dry if you let it. It can consume your soul if you let it. Um, and a lot of these guys uh, let it consume them, and I feel a little bit of a pity towards a lot of these researchers who put so much effort and so much time and so much energy into trying to get to the truth and then never doing it, and instead cracking and crumbling uh, under the pressure and the lights and the criticism and the accusations and the backstabbing. And, it's just a never ending saga and story that just runs parallel to the research into the Kennedy assassination with a lot of these researchers. So, very interesting when you stumble across some things like this every once in a while that you weren't aware of. So, that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So, let's just hear a little bit from the man himself, Mr. Harrison Livingstone, from a rare, unreleased home video from the early 90s as he is furiously typing away at his word processor as we interrupt him in his thoughts. Harrison.
The one thing that the people who controlled this case all these years and the people who controlled the research into the assassination of John F. Kennedy didn't want to happen was for somebody like me to come along, or like Jerry Rose and a couple of others, and question the authenticity of the official evidence. That was a no-no. There were gatekeepers in the research community, and everyone accepted that the evidence as put forward was correct. It was authentic. There wasn't anything forged. The most famous people in the case were there to prevent those kind of questions. But we have done so, and it opened up the floodgates, because now the large majority have asked the same questions, and many have come to the same conclusions. The essential evidence in the case to make a lone assassin theory work was false. And after all, the Warren report was only a theory.
As you can hear, he is furiously hammering those keys on his word processor. Always writing something. Always writing something. So anyway, those are the words of Harrison Livingstone. Hopefully you could hear it. I know it was a little bit of a low piece, but it gives you a little window into his aura and his paranoia about other researchers and the gatekeeping going on in the case and the backstabbing and this and that and the other. So, I guess we'll start here in August 14th, 1994. And he's writing to Carolyn Graff an eyes only confidential document regarding the Marina Oswald story titled Shocking Revelations, folks. And he says, good book title, eh? I also accept your reasoning that in order to get people interested again in the JFK case, something extra is needed for any new book. This does not explain why you printed Case Open, which is filled with errors and is a terrible piece of work. I'm sure you did it strictly for political reasons. I hope you know Harold Weisberg has another agenda in this case and has blocked the real solution of it. His violence towards many researchers is legendary. So even writing his publishers, he can't help but attack Harold Weisberg. And then he says, with regard to your request for shocking revelations, let me remind you that you qualified this to mean not necessarily what it appears to mean, but something that will do the job. I'd like you to try to put that qualification in writing, along with your security agreement for what she and I will tell you. Putting down on paper obscure or confusing concepts helps to clarify them and organizes your own thinking so as not to terrorize the victims of your golden thoughts, which also, having been on paper Friday from you, unglued me. That is not so difficult to do these days. We are a lot alike, eh? So, the publishers want to know, Mr. Livingston, you're trying to sell us a book? Well, then what exactly are these shocking revelations? You've got to lay it out for us before we can agree to anything, sir. You can't just make empty promises. So, we're going to run through what Harrison Livingstone tells his publisher, Graff and Carolyn Graff, what these shocking revelations are. And this is to be kept confidential, folks. So don't be running around telling a bunch of people about this, all right? Okay, good. Here we go. Number one, Oswald was sent to the Soviet Union by the military, okay, as an intelligence agent. And Marina knows it. Okay? Oswald was sent to the Soviet Union by our military as an intelligence agent, not by the CIA, not by the FBI, by the military as a military intelligence agent, and Marina knows it. Apparently, that's what Oswald told her. Number two, Oswald was an operative run by the FBI when he returned to the United States. I now have the names of the agents in the Dallas office who know this. Okay? Interesting. Number three, Oswald was recruited by the Dallas FBI, who first extorted sex from Marina. When Oswald found out about it, he conveyed a written threat to the FBI, ordering Toasty to stay away from her. Toasty destroyed the note as soon as they knew about the assassination. The FBI had to destroy all record of the fact that Oswald had worked for them. Judge Paul Rothamel is also a source for this. So, Oswald was recruited by the FBI, Dallas FBI specifically, but they had first extorted sex from Marina. And when Oswald found out about it, he conveyed a written threat to the FBI, ordering Hosty specifically to stay away from her. Now, that's a serious allegation, folks, because at the time this book was, trying to get written, Hosty was still alive and I think writing a book himself. So this is Marina alleging James Hosty extorted her for sex and that Oswald found out about it. Okay? Very interesting. Very interesting. Number 4. Oswald worked specifically for the Office of Naval Intelligence. The Department of the Navy seems to be deeply intertwined in the assassination of Kennedy, surrounding John Connally, Fred Forth, General Dynamics, etc. My new book, Reopening the Case, spells out the Navy connection in a separate chapter. The driver of the fateful limousine, Bill Greer, was an ONI officer and worked for Henry Cabot Lodge, Nixon's running mate. Greer stopped the limo during the shooting, according to the Warren Commission testimony of 30 witnesses. And we no longer see this in the Zapruder film. Number 5. Marina was exploited sexually early in life. She was a lost child born out of wedlock. Number 6. The connections between the Hunts of Dallas and the Oswalds may go way back in time. Marina may have been recruited before she was directly linked up with Oswald in Minsk. Nelson Bunker Hunt, one of 2 of H.L. Hunt's sons who are strongly believed to have been involved in the murder of JFK, came to the very remote town of Severodvinsk, where Marina was born in 1941 during the war, near Archangel in the Soviet Union, and saw her. Rothermel believes that both men were involved in the assassination. Both Bunky and his brother Lamar tried to corner the world's silver market and lost heavily. Both were caught bugging Paul Rothermel's house, and their men arrested and convicted. Bunker Hunt was in Severodvinsk making his deals. The possibility exists that Oswald was sent over to USSR by ONI to make contact with Marina, who was our agent, marry her, and then bring her here where DeMoore and Shield could debrief her for J. Walton Moore, the CIA head in Dallas. This is what may be hidden in the JFK case. No one ever thought of this. Number 7. Marina was taken care of by the Hunts after the assassination. She was paid off by the Hunts. She has admitted to friends of mine that she did, in fact, see Hunt in his office. As John Currington, Hunt's CEO, said in an article, there is a famous letter written by Oswald to Hunt asking for instructions, which I have traced absolutely to H.L. Hunt. Number 8. Marina was directed to marry Oswald and allowed to leave the Soviet Union to go to America. It is highly unlikely that she would have been allowed to marry Oswald, let alone leave Russia, since Oswald was believed by the KGB to be an intelligence agent, per the testimony of Yuri Nisenko. Unless they intended to use her for intelligence purposes by linking her to Oswald. Knowing he would be returned to the U.S., I have a contact in Minsk who knew them both well, and from whom I might be able to get the whole story if I pay him. Now he's referring to Ernst Titovitz right there, folks. I think Ernst said, screw you, I'll write my own book. Yeah. Number 9, Marina lived with Ruth Paine and had a lesbian relationship with her. Ruth Paine's husband, Michael, worked at one of the defense industries in Dallas and appears to have been running an intelligence operation on Oswald. Marina was very vulnerable when she came to the United States. Apparently so. If the FBI is extorting her for sex, Ruth Paine is extorting her for sex, Oswald is probably the only one not getting any at this point. Unless he's banging Michael Paine. Who the hell knows? Number 10. Marina says that Oswald knew in advance that he would have to disappear November 22nd. He says he had to go, quote, underground. He gives the reasons for this. It means that he acknowledged that the assassination was going to take place. Oswald had probably been led to believe by his FBI handlers that he was spying on the conspirators, maybe at Jack Ruby's club. He believed that he was going to stop the plot by having told the FBI, whom he apparently trusted. In Oswald's mind, he knew that he was therefore not safe, and that the conspirators, which unknown to him included some FBI agents, therefore would then know that it was Oswald who ratted on them, and he knew that he had to disappear. This is why he left his wedding ring with his wife that fateful morning and gave her his money and wallet. His FBI handlers who set him up had to keep him close and controlled, therefore gave him the assignment of, quote, spying on someone of their number. It looks as though Harvey Henderson, one of the Secret Service men, took a direct role in the conspiracy, and the key to it may be the presence at the after-hours bar of Kennedy's Secret Service detail just hours before the murder. Little Lynn, whose family called you 2 weeks ago to get in touch with me, was deeply involved in that club and may be able to throw some light on it, since its owner was close to the oil men and threatened to kill her. If I had some money, I could complete some new interviews with one of the Secret Service men who wants to talk to me, Little Lynn and others. Number 11. Marina was taken over by the rich people of Dallas and made their captive. She was threatened and terrorized. Her life descended into hell. She became, for a time, the creature of the Secret Service and the FBI. She was controlled by first one person and then another. Everybody tries to get a hold of her. Now her local congressman terrorizes and controls her. Number 12. The famous backyard pictures of Oswald, which she is supposed to have taken, are composites. He took similar pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald, but from a different camera angle, and doesn't know what happened to them. It is possible that we ended up with a different Oswald than the original, since there are numerous examples indicating he was switched in an intelligence operation. Number 13. Then there is the business of Oswald's exhumation, which she authorized, and the tyrannical control of the congressman where she lives, who keeps her in a state of terror and who has prevented her from seeing the evidence of the exhumation. This letter is quite a story that she'll tell. The Marina Oswald story will also tell readers what it was like to grow up in an authoritarian state and what it was like in those 2 years in the Soviet Union. What it was like in those years in the Soviet Union. She must have memories of World War II also. Herman, I intend to get the truth out of Marina or die trying. I think she was sent here and had a mission either by the KGB, the CIA, or both of them. If she is hiding anything, I'll get it. But I have to use my own methods. Naked torture in my basement. Exciting stuff, hey? Oh, okay. I didn't add that, folks. That's in here. I had a hot development day today when someone who was very close to Jack Ruby spelled out some things to me. There's a witness who worked for Ruby, now in a witness protection program, I'm told, that knows the whole story of November 22nd. And these people are all ratting on Grodin. I also was told of numerous people by name in Dallas who believe in me, all of them surprises, and were working to help me in my investigation. Herman, try to stay calm when you are leading me down the garden path or otherwise reasoning with me. We can talk calmly. I am pretty badly beat up due to other struggles, and since I hold you in great esteem and affection, you scare me when you act like my father always did when he got on my case. Too much is at stake here. I hope the above is satisfactory. Marina, as a TV personality, will be a very hot property, much in demand. She's the toughest cookie I ever met, except you, of course. very articulate, with a terrific command of American slang. Very sincerely, Harry. So there is how his first missive was sent off. And I can see already a slight problem here. Hold on. And these are some of the contractual obligations that Livingston is proposing. He says, I feel that you, the publishers, should retain control over all subsidiary rights. There could be two contracts, one for Marina and one for me. Or maybe it is better to have one contract signed by both of us. Who controls the copyright? I would prefer to own that, but it's up to you and Marina. You may want it, though I know you don't normally ask for it. I don't think she should feel dictated to. I think you have to get a contract to her by overnight mail right away, accompanied by a check, saying that the check will be as good as soon as you know that she has signed. I will try to deliver her to you as much as possible without negotiation. We should work out the terms now. My own personal feeling is that you should pay a total of $50,000 advance to both of us. That's a lot of money. But knowing your problems and lack of dealing on that level, expect less. My suggestion is that you give us both $5,000, each in advance and work in the usual thirds to the time of publication. That gives you well over a year to come up with $30,000 in advances. Maybe you could give her less after I finish the draft, since she is doing no work after that. The usual royalty agreements split 50-50. We can easily make a publishing schedule for the fall of 94. I want you to pay her flight fares between Baltimore and Dallas, usually about $450. I expect her to stay put here for a good month or more while we get a draft together. I may have to go to Dallas to research, etc., in connection with the book, and I'd like you to pay that as well. But I will keep your expenses to a minimum, I promise. I will put her up at my house, so there will be no hotel bill. But one of the problems to clinch is that she will come here and me not go there. Otherwise, I would have hotel bills there. That would be very costly. I would like to have $150 a week for expenses for the both of us, for dinners, etc. While we are writing, I'd also like you to pick up the cost of a few days in New York. And as I said in a previous letter, take us out to dinner there and obtain tickets to the ballet or the opera. This poor woman badly needs to be stroked. And at this point, so do I. You should consider this as part of the cost of a potential blockbuster book. Marina is a very tough cookie, and there will be nothing easy about this for me. Also, she is a heavy smoker, and I will be putting myself at risk just breathing her air. Smoke is very dangerous to me. I have already told them that I want Marina to stay at my house while we write this book, and that means at least a month. This is going to be a nerve-wracking job for me, as English is not her native language. Sincerely, Harry. Well, no shit, Harry. But she'd been in the country for, at that point, for 30 some years. I think she can speak English just fine. You'd think. Ah, so there's that. So what does the publishing company, think about all this massive blockbuster book that Harrison Livingstone is putting together? Let's see. They're very short with their replies. Your facts outlining the revelations in Marina's life are most helpful. We still need to know: 1. Has any of this been previously published? And 2. Will she actually talk about these episodes in detail? Best hint. A man of few words. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. So a couple days later, in this correspondence, he writes back, Dear Herman, this is in response to Kent's fax last night with 2 questions to be answered and given to you. Number 1, the information I outlined in yesterday's letter to you has not been published. Very little is known about Marina, as she has been under wraps. As I previously said to you, only one book has dealt with her, Marina and Lee, and according to Marina, it is filled with erroneous statements which she wishes to correct. In addition, it is not her autobiography, which my proposed book is. There have been intimations that Oswald was an intelligence agent, of course, but I've got the proof that he worked for the FBI. Number 2, you ask if she will talk about the episodes in detail. Yes, but only to me. I doubt that any other writer could work with her. Many have tried to get close to her and failed. I have a team on the ground in Dallas, working with Marina to deliver her to me. Actually working as much as with her husband, who is for this project and who gives the orders to a certain extent. He has told her that it is time for her to tell her story and that she owes it to the world. A couple of the episodes I mentioned are touchy and she may try to lie. I think she is still lying about some things and lied, as the Warren Commission memo said, on some key issues. I will restudy all her testimony. Her husband has told her it's time to come clean. I think I can certainly get straight some of the lies that in itself will be news. This latter is separate from the points I outlined in yesterday's letter on Revelations. The plain facts are that those who were behind the murder and cover-up are dying out, and a lot of people have been left stranded or abandoned with no backup and no money. Now is the time to strike, while some are left alive who can talk, and that is why my new book, Reopening the Case, is so important, since it effectively breaks the Kennedy case. The 2 books, working in tandem, will be like bundles of dynamite going off. I can only say that from what I know about the situation with her, I am sure that I will succeed in nailing down at least 90% of what I promised you. The rest I can write about in the book, but I may not be able to completely prove it. You'll still have a lot of powerful stuff that isn't known. To more specifically answer your question, she will talk about all of it, but maybe fudge something or refuse on some point I named. I nevertheless feel that I will succeed on 90% or more of what I want from her. I did not tell you about a lot more that I am after from her. Play it safe. Your job will be to make it clear to her upon contracting that the remainder of the money will not be forthcoming for her if I state that she has not been cooperative and that the whole deal is off. I am her judge and jury. I do not want to be heavy-handed, but I want to be sure I get the whole ball of wax from her. I have to work with her psychologically over the period of weeks to probe the depths of her experience and memory. She needs a safe house, a refuge, and is very low. I can give her a social life here and a new lease on life. I would not have proposed this project if I did not think that I could get a major story, if not a sensational one, out of it. In addition, we are going to be writing a major piece of American and world history, and I will give it all that I have, as you know. Very sincerely, Harrison Livingstone. Next to Harrison Livingstone from Kent Carroll. Your proposal for a book with Marina Oswald is missing the following. There must be a series of truly shocking revelations. Marina simply saying he didn't do it is not enough. The interviews must have a narrative line, a structure, a beginning, a middle, and an end, as it were. Number 3, we have to be convinced that Marina would be an effective promoter. Journalists would want to speak with her, not you. True shit. So here we are. We find ourselves 2 to 3 weeks into this uh, book, trying to get this book published. And on September the 2nd, 1994, Harrison writes to Kent Carroll again. Dear Kent, at noon today. And here's where shit starts to go sideways, folks. At noon today, there is a meeting at Marina's ranch, and she, her husband, and my personal emissary, Ms. Madeline Brown. Madeline is working for me, and if this deal comes in, she needs to be brought in as well. Unfortunately, Larry Howard's widow is trying to spoil it and take Marina out of there and go on the road with her, like a carnival sideshow exhibit, along with Grodin. That is all those people have left. Others are trying to sign her, but I think we can get this, and I will get back in touch in the late afternoon. Please call me sometime this morning and leave a message. I have to run some errands. As to your availability this afternoon and next week, I recommend you call Marina today if we get the green light after Maddie's visit. These are your instructions, and I say this advisedly because you have to watch everything you do and say with Marina. She is extremely tough and psychic. She sees right through people and anticipates what you will say. She does not like being toyed with and having these little mice dangled before her. She thinks of herself as a cat. Number 1, offer her a contract today with money up front. I guess you can use your own judgment with that. I'd even start at $2,000, but be willing to go to $5,000 up front, plus increments up to the time of publication, depending on her cooperation with me. She must understand that she will be working with me and that she should come here and stay in my home throughout the writing, going home from time to time if necessary. This will save us a lot of money. I do not feel safe staying there in a hotel way out in the country trying to do this work. It would be very costly, too. Explain to her that this will be her autobiography, the Marina Oswald story, but that the title page and book jacket will say that it is with H.E. Livingstone. Number 4, she must agree in writing to tell her whole story without holding anything back. She has the right of review and correction for any real mistakes. If she is afraid of something he talks about, we can work it out. Assure her that there will be no falsification or distortion on our part, but she is to cooperate fully with me. Be sure to impress upon her that we are here to help her, and this is for her benefit, to make her free, bring her potentially big earnings. She owes her story and the truth to the world. She believes Lee Harvey Oswald was innocent, and this is the best way for her to make her case. I believe it too. Number 5, you will pay reasonable expenses such as her flights to Baltimore and our train fares to New York, a weekly stipend for our food costs here, and other small necessary incidentals, plus the Berkshire Hotel in New York, and your agreement to take her out to dinner or show, etc. I will make every effort to save you money, but you have to spend money to make it. I don't have to tell you that. Number 6, license all subsidiary rights from her in the contract. Number 7, it is my desire to start immediately on this book, work about a month, and both of us take a break, with her going home for a bit, and I expect to have a more or less complete draft by then. I will take it to California in the fall and work on it, then bring her back and start further work on it. I have a social life set up there with my ritzy friends, sailing on the bay, drive to the ocean, etc. You will pay me $5,000 as the start, with increments up to the time of publication, as previously outlined upon her signature. All royalties will be split 50-50 between Marina and myself. You did not keep your word to me to forward a security agreement with regard to the revelations. You will not, under any circumstances, discuss with her anything I wrote in my letters regarding those revelations. Not that they aren't true, but that I don't want her spooked. I have to get her confidence and sweet talk her here, offering her relief from her present stress, depression, and the horror of her life. This will take time. Ron Leitner will take over the Madeline book and sell it, as he is connected and writes for the tabloids and can hype it up. All we need to do is print it, and as I said, it's worth a lot in my opinion. I strongly believe in Madeline. She and her friends now work very hard for me. All right, folks. So, what it sounds to me like is that maybe he's talked to Marina here and there, but that he's possibly blowing up a very minor conversation that she may have been nicely having with him, placating him. Oh, Marina, we should write a book. No, yeah, sure, great idea. Yeah, yeah. And he just ran with it. And he is in his mind full bore with these publishers. He's got this book already written, seems like, most of it anyway. And he just has to get Marina to agree to say these shocking revelations. These shocking revelations came from him, not Marina, folks. So this is a perfect example of why people like Marina don't trust researchers, don't want to have anything to do with researchers. Because it's awful coincidental that Marina has disappeared about the time that all this shit started in the mid 90s. She has not come out. We haven't heard anything from her since then, since her treatment on the national news, since this. Marina has been radio silent when it comes to researchers or anything related to the assassination whatsoever. And is it this that soured her so badly? Because it seems to me like he's trying to strong arm her into writing this book with him, that he's trying to get her to say all this shit so he can make money. Oh, not just for him, but for her too, Yeah. Yeah, sure thing. And here we go into the spirally downfall of Hades, folks. Dear Kent, Marina canceled the meeting today. They may meet tomorrow. You may have waited too long, as there was a competing meeting yesterday. Marina has warned me that she was sick of people dangling offers in front of her. I don't know where you got the idea that I said it was off, but it is close. Anyway, you are free today. Please let me know if you will be there Tuesday. So he's basically now blaming the publishing company for not immediately signing on and agreeing to do this book and give Marina all these advances and contact her and seal the deal for him. The day after that, September 3rd, 1994, was a Saturday. And we have Mr. Livingstone writing Marina a letter. Dear Marina, this follows our talk on the phone last night. You had a chance to make a powerful statement in this nation and the world. And hold on to your hats, folks. Here we go. You do not remotely understand the swamp you are immersed in with the researchers and critics that you think so highly of. People are paid in this country to distort or lie, and that bunch is a good example of extortionists, crooks, and thieves. Ain't that the pot calling the kettle black? That is how the government gets control of those it wants to do its bidding. It often takes criminals or people of that mind and takes them over, making them do what it wants. You do not realize what a role intelligence operations, government or private, play in this case. running those people today. There is a major private intelligence operation at work in this case, paid for in Dallas. Larry and the others may have been nice to you, and, well, they might, but you did not really know them. Larry was a flim-flam operator who took a lot of money from many people, getting them to give him thousands of books and much else by promising to pay. He would say, "Give me $800, and you can look in this shipping trunk and see what's in it." Inside would be nothing but old magazines. Or he would sell people copies of FBI documents at $400, which had been printed by the Warren Commission long ago. Darrell justifies his thefts by saying he had to do that when he needed the money. I'm sorry, but that's not the way it works. Do you think for one moment that after the JFK case had been tainted with the likes of him and those who were with him, that anyone in this nation will listen to the truth unless we purge our own ranks? Don't you know how it works? He had his stroke not long before he was on the Tom Brokaw show with you while having sex with a young college girl, Angela Parker. He took him to the hospital. Darrell knows very well about the relationship, and Angela came and stayed with me afterwards, so I know the whole story. Well, he was with her shortly before he died. I know other things that are too heinous to repeat. And there's the matter of his shooting to death his best friend before he set up the center and getting away with it as a hunting accident. The center was a government operation, totally wired electronically, and everything was discussed, and every person who came into Dallas and spoke in there had their conversations recorded and broadcast across the street to the FBI. I know because I had a policeman stay there all night one night, and we found the bugs. Larry put the bugs in the walls himself. You are so unaware of how little ice the critics cut in America. They mean nothing. That is why this case got nowhere. One of the most prominent was arrested on his job, and this is a very famous man, and he has never performed the job since. I could go down the list of the most famous ones, and then you would understand why the JFK case was never properly dealt with, because it was led by crooks, and the media, nor anyone else would ever believe them. They were wolves in sheep's clothing, who pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. They are nothing but scum. You have no right to sit in judgment on the fight we are having to purge these people. And believe you me, we will do it, because the vast majority of the rank and file are with me, not with them. You are in the middle of the conspirators themselves who keep you down. Your terrible negativism and depression is caused by what you are surrounded with. If you could get away with it, if you could get away from it for a time and be in a healthy atmosphere, you would get free. But you will not live long enough to make a difference in this case, as you might, because you are too busy destroying yourself with cigarettes. You are totally self-destructive and totally negative. You aren't ever going to be ready to tell your story because you will get cancer and die before it happens. Now is the time to do things before it's too late. That crap about not being ready is just cowardice. We get knocked down over and over in life, but we get up to fight another day. Unless you are a defeatist, it is the same as in war. I needed you to step in now and play your part in this case in a big way, but you are too dumb to see how important it is. You have no idea how far along my research is. We will expose the Zapruder film for the fraud that it is, and those who used it to con the public will go down with it. The forgery of that film tells us much more than about who really killed Kennedy. I had 2 bestsellers in the case, and am about to have another blockbuster. Tie yourself onto that star so you can really matter. But you are afraid of real controversy, of rocking the boat, of upsetting the way you think things are in this research. You want to stay with the status quo, and so you will go down on their ship as it sinks. The rats are deserting the ship every day lately. I recall how tied you were to Lifton's crazy theories. Well, he is vanquished. In case you didn't hear, his theories were there to protect the government, believe it or not. JFK's body wasn't stolen or altered. The autopsy evidence was simply fake. And I am the one who brought that out. And now it has been proven. This means we know a lot more about where the conspiracy came from if that evidence was faked, as was the Zapruder film. Are you beginning to get the picture? It is certain, quote, critics who co opted the film and other materials and told us what to think about them when it was false and led us down the wrong path in the evidence. You do not grasp that I represent and am part of the very large majority of researchers who have nothing to do with the critics you think so highly of. The formerly famous ones that hogged all that publicity and controlled everything in the case. Do you think my publisher printed what I wrote about the researchers for nothing in my last book? My publisher asked me to write that, and it has the backing of a much larger segment of this society. We have to purge our ranks before this case can go on. That publisher is about to do my third book, in spite of all the critics have done to stop them. They have guts and would have been your publisher now, too, willing to send you money this week for a contract. No, my new book has nothing to do with the critics. There was never more than a small part of my research, and even then was only caused by their attacks on me. Most people would have died from those kind of lies, and I almost did. I have no doubt but that you were told a lot of lies about me, and that turned you off to me personally. Let me tell you something. My publisher notified the federal court 2 weeks ago that they are filing suit against certain researchers in this case for slandering me. Those researchers, such as Groden, who just had one of his nuisance suits thrown out of court in New York, do not know the difference between legitimate criticism and illegal slander. You have to give some thought to why they would tell such lies about me. Why are they afraid of me and the power of my writing? Oh, they kept you down, all right, kept a lid on you. I think your constant depression has more to do with the kind of Operation Mind Control at work in the case and its effect on you. That is something we know a lot about because they did it to me as well. There is a fortune in Dallas to pay people off and control the case. The Hunts used over 40, quote, detectives in one operation against Judge Paul Rothermel. He is my friend. Maybe you ought to study my books to see just who my friends are and how many. You need to talk to Ed Tatro. Oh, hey, Ed, about what I have to say about the researchers in Dallas in my last book. He has a lot more. You don't believe in God, or you would have faith. The faith to go to work right now and make the statement, no matter what, to strike a blow that would help us, the real us. You have seen nothing but con artists, bad eggs, and don't know it. There is an entire nation out there past your little world that laughs at all that goes on in Dallas with the bunch that you so admire. You don't really know me. I all but laid down my life to make child abuse a national issue in this country. It was my effort that put it over the top. And in my first book, I have achieved a lot else. I am in the National Police Hall of Fame for saving a cop's life during a shootout and disarming a dangerous bandit shooting at us barehanded. I was almost killed. Much more. I am considered one of the finest writers of my generation. Now I have an entirely new book ready to be published. I finished it Wednesday. This book will take the lid right off the case. I hope to publish Madeline's book along with it, and my publisher is publishing John Newman's book on Oswald and his intelligence connections at the same time. Newman is former military intelligence. A lot of people think you are holding something very important back. I think I had much to offer you, but I can see that even if you changed your mind, you would fight and argue every step of the way, and it would tear me apart. You clearly don't care about me either, even after seeing my books. I'm just a, quote, well-meaning individual to you. This was a chance for you to be someone in the world, to make it a historical record in your own words, to strike a blow to the man. But you have an answer to everything. Every little bit helps to overthrow the terrible lie of John Kennedy's murder. You evidently care more about Lee and yourself than Kennedy. You will find every excuse to say you are not ready. You will never be ready because you are a coward. You have been beaten up so badly you cannot get up again and fight. Many is the time I have taken a bad beating or a rejection of a book and gone on and won and published that book after all. It just happened to me having my new book rejected, then accepted in the same day. Had I lost faith that day, I never would have saved the project. The publisher wanted something from me, didn't say so. I had to be flexible. They wanted the book split into two. It was a test. We all have to sell ourselves a little in this life to our employers, our publishers, and to our public. That is not the same thing as selling one's soul, which every one of the researchers you so admire did long ago. I'm trying to bring you into the mainstream of America with the book I propose for you. It is your story. It is your book, not mine. It's your autobiography, which is a hell of a lot different than what Priscilla did. I could have provided a welcome break for you in your life to come here and work with me. My publisher has been waiting to talk to you, and it is about all but lost. If that was a last ditch effort, Harry, to try to get Marina to agree to do your book, I would say that going on a 3-page typed rampage, insulting her is probably not the best course of action, just in my own. But yeah, what a shitheel, pompous ass motherfucking dirty scumbag this guy was. No wonder everybody hate and talk shit about this guy. I'm sure he did some good work along the way, but my God, people, you think it's bad now? I mean, back in the day, these people were living and breathing this shit like, their lifeblood. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And, even prominent researchers aren't immune from this shit. Listen to this. He writes a letter to his publisher. Hey, I met with John Newman yesterday. I'd rather you not betray my trust and go to him with his story for about 3 weeks so he doesn't connect it with what I'm telling you. It's just to look after your interest that I say it. Don't misinterpret this as trying to shoot him down. He may not be able to make his December deadline. He's striving to obtain certain evidence which is being withheld. Blah, blah, blah. Also, his first book, JFK in Vietnam, which was an academic work, in fact, his PhD thesis, did not sell because it had no publicity. His new book, unless it has some terrific revelation in it, will not sell either. But it may be a valuable point in our history, and you'll do a service to print it and get it in libraries, if he's got anything at all. Just don't have a lot of hopes. I know you do a lot of pro bono work, such as Weisberg's crap, as a favor to Dick Gallen. Newman's book on LHO has nothing whatsoever to do with the assassination or LHO's involvement in it. He may not even have any evidence of a connection between LHO, the CIA. LHO was ONI and FBI. Though it is possible that the CIA had a piece of him, it is also more than likely the CIA played a role in the cover-up through Helms, etc., and he will outline what he suspects he finds. Newman knows there was no institutional involvement in the murder of Kennedy by the CIA. With regard to the Marina Oswald story, every hour that you let pass without signing her to a contract increases the chance that someone else will get this book, assholes. Yeah. So he's begging them to pay her, to strong arm her into writing this book with him. He goes on to speak a little bit about Madeline Duncan Brown, which I could give two shits about. I think you make a mistake to publish another book by Weisberg. His case, or his last one, Case Open, was written very, very badly and pulls the wool over certain people's eyes. Herman, we are close to nailing down more proof that the Zapruder film was fake. We found someone who can do the computer study we need, which will add much more to what I've already got, which is a lot. Actually, Dan Rather may turn out to be our biggest ally in this, as he saw two different films and was publicly humiliated over his description of it. I wrote him last week about it. 30 people testified the limousine stopped altogether, and it does not stop or change speed in the film. At great cost, last month I went to Dallas and measured all of the distances in the plaza so we can determine the speed of the car and other matters. Unless you hate me, don't let me go under. I need an advance rather quickly. Very sincerely, Harrison Livingstone. Beg for that money, son. Beg for it. Beg for it. All right, that's it for this one, folks. Follow along at the Lone Gunman 7 on Twitter, and make sure you're listening to Quick Hits, a JFK assassination news and notes podcast that I do with my buddy Doug. And make sure you're checking out his show, The Dallas Action. You can listen to it wherever good podcasts are found. Until next time, folks. Peace.